What up, though, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Chopping It Up with Uncle Sean podcast. I am your host, Uncle Sean. Yes, sir. So, indeed, an honor and a pleasure to be here again, doing something that I love. And I'm going to jump right into this. As you can see, I'm wearing my Wolverines gear. I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan. I've been a Michigan Wolverine fan my entire life, since I can remember. Don't know how it started. Don't go to the University of Michigan. Didn't graduate from there. Matter of fact, I know far more people who have went to Michigan State than I do University of Michigan. But for whatever reason, when I was a little boy, just a tiny tyke, as they say, I grew to love the Michigan Wolverines. Like I say, don't know how it happened, just is. And unless you've been hiding up under a rock, you know that the head coach of the mighty Michigan Wolverines decided to embarrass himself and the university and the football team and his family all over a snow bunny. Wow. Big surprise, huh? Now, let me tell you something. Whatever you like, you like. But when you get a taste for them snow bunnies as a black man here in this country, there's some things that come with that. There's danger. There's looming failure. There's possible jail time. There's possible death. Accusations, threats, side-eye looks. All of that comes with that. Yet, for whatever reason, especially brothers that get a little something going for themselves, a lot of them seem to develop a taste for the snow roach. And it oftentimes works out to their detriment. Now, this guy who gets a head coach job as a black man in America at a top 5 university. I think it's safe to say that University of Michigan is a top 5 school, top 5 sports program in college football, especially historically and recognizably. Everybody knows that Block M, baby. And this man gets a job, bucks the system. How many black head coaches have there been in the NCAA football or Division I at the major schools? Why do you think they make such a big deal out of Dion being at the University of Colorado? And this guy, who was already married to a snow bunny, okay, which at some point in the future was going to backfire on his ass, I'm willing to bet, after he collects as many millions as he could afford to collect, as he was as he would be allowed to collect, shall I say. And then what happens is there's a transfer of wealth from your black behind to her white family. Now, this brother, this idiot, because that's what he is, I'm sorry. Once you get caught up and crash out like Coach Moore decided to do, you are an idiot. You are a stupid fool. And I'm not saying you can't come back from this, but for all intensive purposes, right now you ruined your life. You fumbled the bag bad. Now, I'm not 100% sure about the details of what happened, but I heard there was some kind of a delivery for a morning after pill that he had delivered to the school, and some Uber driver finds out it's a morning after pill going to the coach, and he decides to narc him out or whatever. I don't respect that, but I will say this: as the head coach of a top 5 major university, you got to be smarter than that, dog. First of all, you broke the first rule of being a successful man. And that rule is you do not shit where you eat. And for those who don't know what that means that if you're working at the school, you don't date the students or the other employees at the school that you work at. Or if you're the CEO of a business, you don't date your underlings at the business, because it's too much of an opportunity for it to turn out bad. And that's where you're making your living from. So you don't want that to be messed up over a piece of snow bunny coochie or no kind of coochie. Now, this ridiculous man has alerted his wife. I'm assuming she didn't already know that he's been dipping his wick in some other candles wax. Now, one thing I will say is that he's married to a snow bunny, and he went and cheated with a snow bunny. So he likes one flavor. Yeah. Now, Brother Tariq Nasheed says that the guy is from Trinidad. I didn't know, didn't look that up. To me, it didn't matter. He's black and he was at the head coach of the school. I was happy with that. The aesthetics of it. I didn't know that he was married to a white woman, and had I known that, I wouldn't have really held that against him as the coach unless he started losing. Then I'd have been like, see, if you wasn't married to that white woman, we'd be winning. You know? Okay, I was a little late with that, but that's okay. Right, right. So, the thing that I can't figure out is why do these men keep falling for the same trap over and over and over? How many times does pussy have to bring down men before they realize, hey, You got pussy at home. You're a married man. You're being watched. Literally on TV. And everything that you do is under scrutiny because you're the head coach of a top 5 university. You have to be beyond reproach. What about that don't you understand and you made it to that level? You thought you was gonna sneak and fuck that little snow bunny at the job and wasn't nobody gonna never find out and she wasn't gonna never say nothing? You's a nitwit. You's a moron. What? Who? Man, come on. Now look what you've done. Look at the destruction that your dick has caused. You've ruined your marriage. For I bet you. I mean, because if she's smart, she's gonna get out now while you still got a couple dollars. Your ass might go to jail. Your snow bunny done dumped you. And she's gonna sue probably you and the school because everything's your fault. You was stalking her, you made her give you some pussy, you got her drunk, all kind of shit finna come out. Your reputation is shit. Right now, you couldn't be hired to coach Pop Warner. And they don't have to pay you the rest of your contract, you big dummy, because they were able to fire your ass for cause. They not oh well, you know what, we had one too many losing seasons, we're gonna have to let you go, but here's the rest of your paper. No, 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 no. Not you. You signed that shit and you knew what was in it and you proceeded to go on a dickcapade. Your wife is embarrassed. So is, I don't know if you got kids, but if you do, they embarrassed too. Your family is embarrassed. Her family's embarrassed. The school is embarrassed. The state of Michigan is embarrassed. You a fucking embarrassment. What do you think the recruiting's going to be like for next year? You think anybody who you recruited is going to want to come there now? And you're going to be in court trying to keep yourself out of jail. After you got fired, what the hell made you run over the snow bunny the side snow bunny bitch house and kick her door in and go in there and threaten to kill yourself? What the fuck wrong with you? Was you high? You had to be high, drunk, high, something. What the fuck? What was that going? What was that going to do? Well, I guess you couldn't go home because I guess your wife was probably sitting there with a with a with a with a 38 in her hand, or, or or a shiv. Woo! Can you imagine? Like, look, I'm empathetic to the man's wife, the snow bunny number one, because think about this: your husband, even though he's black, I'm saying that because she, anyway, he's the head coach of Michigan. So there's a certain social standing that the wife gets. She's probably head of this committee and that committee and got this little women's group, the coaches' wives and all that. Ooh, ooh. And you know the way women talk about each other. Oh my God, that woman is pissed. Got to be. And your stupid ass, man, they had this fool sitting up in jail, sitting in a chair, man, huh? Looking like a straight fool. Now, Tariq says he's from Trinidad, so this is what I'm gonna say. You black immigrants who came over here and were talking about you ain't black, you're Dominican, I ain't black, I'm African, I'm from Nigeria, I'm not black, I'm from Somalia. Yep, mm-hmm. And then when you get in trouble, black. Mm-mm. Nah, no more of that. You don't claim black when you're doing good, and we're not going to allow you to claim black when you're doing bad. Now, I'm gonna leave that right there because this is going with we'll see what happens. But this man is already he has fumbled a bag, $13 million plus reputation, standing in community. Shit, probably the house he living in was probably owned by the university or something. Oh, anyway, now what the podcast is supposed to be about this evening is I want to ask the question: have the rules of manhood changed? Have the rules of manhood changed? In other words, in 2025, are the rules that the average man lives by or goes by, are those different than a man in, let's say, 1965? Because there are things that young men and some older men are doing nowadays that I consider to be less than manly. And this ain't got nothing to do with no sexual orientation, so to speak. More than likely. I hope not. But there are certain things that, see, I was taught from my father, who was a man, and uncles and older cousins of things to do and not do. Things that men don't do. Things that men do. And for me, none of that's changed. I don't compromise my values. I don't compromise my morals. And I do not compromise my manhood. But some of you people, all of a sudden, you're a little bit too liberal. You're a little bit too accepting of things that have traditionally been unacceptable. And people will say, well, these are different times we living in. Maybe they are, but the rules of manhood are timeless. Now, if some of you guys want to play willy nilly with manhood, you do that. But when you get caught out on it, don't get mad. When somebody calls your ass moist, don't get mad. When somebody calls you a half a fag, don't get mad. When people make signs at you, when you're doing something that just ain't manly, when you're acting like a bitch. You see, there are certain things men just don't do. Okay? We don't hit women. Okay? Now, is the rule under no circumstances should you never, ever, ever hit a woman? I've heard people say that, but hell no. You mess around and get killed, get unalived like that. There are circumstances where you may have to defend yourself against a woman, but beating a woman up is unacceptable. Putting your hands on a woman for any other reason than to restrain her or to keep her from effing you up, because there are some women out here who can fight, and they'll tear you up. And if you run across one of those, hey, you got to do what you got to do. But the general rule is, no. You don't ball your fists up and hit no woman and throw her 5 or 4 piece. You don't do that. So what? She talking junk to you. Walk off. Listen, and I can tell you right now, a woman, you will never be able to out-talk them. A woman will, listen, she was always going to be able to say something to hurt your feelings, because they look at every little thing about you and they bank it. They save it and wait for the argument on you. And if you've been with a few women, you know what I'm talking about. And she'll bust it out on you. And if you weaken the mind, it'll hurt your feelings. But if your skin is thick like old Uncle Sean here, you'll laugh at her. You'll be like, that's a good one. You funny. You know? Boy, let me tell you, that really knocks somebody off guard right there when you do that. And then, here, listen, silence is golden, and it is most aggravating to a woman. Just don't talk to her for 3 or 4 days. That's better than any cussing or anything you can do. That's my advice. Anyway. But you little punks and grown men that every time your woman say something that you don't like, you backhand her, punch her in the face, and all that old crap, you ain't no man. And those rules don't change. Now, see, sometimes when I start talking, I get to thinking about certain things, and I'm like, well, here's the problem with today that's different than yesterday. There are people who present themselves as women who are not women. So in that case, all bets are off. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Men do not carry purses. You see, let me tell you something. I don't know where that purse carrying for men started. I think the little punk rappers that they groom now to set an agenda out to try to sissify the youth the black youth especially, to try to water down the warrior class. They told one of them little punk rappers, "Hey, put this purse on and go out there and rock it and make it look good. Promote this as the next thing." I would, boy. Let me tell you something, boy. Let me tell you something. Not no kid of mine, not no son of mine, come strolling up in my crib with a purse on. All the cops. It's gonna be some domestic violence. I might be joking, you know. Anyway, the rules of manhood don't change. You supposed to take care of your kids. If you have kids, I don't give a damn if you got 35 of them. You laid down and they're yours, you supposed to take care of them. If you eating, your kids supposed to be able to eat too. You see, the men of yesteryear, the men, they would have 2 and 3 families. Now everybody couldn't get no time, but everybody got some food. The women knew their order of hierarchy. They knew, hell, the wife knew the mistress and vice versa, and they knew to stay away from each other. Every now and then, if one of them get out of pocket, but a man would handle that. But you ain't no man if you don't take care of your kids. How you a man and you don't take care of your kids? What you gonna say? Well, my daddy didn't. I didn't know my daddy. So you gonna continue the cycle? You punk. And just to get off subject just a little bit, but I think women, why don't y'all make a nigga wear a rubber? I mean, or at least something like, don't have kids. Like, this guy already got 5 kids he ain't taking care of. Why wouldn't the world? I don't get that. Because as a man, I'm not finna lay down with no chick that's got 6, 7 kids. No, for what? She's already proven to be much too fertile. Shit. 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 You know? But if you're going to have them, take care of them. Because that's part of the problem out here right now. All these untaken care of children, unraised children. And they grow into psychologically fragile, overly emotional, stupid young men and women. Now you got hoe culture. Now you got a generation of young men who wear tight pants and don't want to go to work. You've got an explosion of homosexuality. Now, in the black community, there's always been gay people. We've always had the gay, you know, cousin, uncle, neighborhood gay person, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, it was what it was. Did they get teased a little bit? Yes. Well, who didn't? Everybody got teased. Everybody in the black community gets teased. It doesn't matter if you're pretty or ugly. It doesn't matter if you're light or dark, fat or skinny, tall or short. It don't matter. Everybody got it. The gay people, they got it. Usually they would get accused of it far before they'd be willing to come out and say it, but sometimes you would notice, hey, how come I ain't gonna say that. Well, how come how come he don't want to play football with us? Why is he down there jumping rope with the girls? We had one of those on my street, you know. I don't know what became of him. I don't know if it turned out to be what we thought it was going to be, but you know, as a man, you don't backslide your homies. You don't go behind your homie's back and talk about him. You don't go behind your homie's back and mess around with his woman or wife. That's just man code. That's unacceptable. As a man, your word is supposed to be your bond. Think about what else does a poor man have but his word? If your word ain't nothing, what are you? You ain't nothing. Your word can't be trusted. Your word means nothing. Let me tell you something. When your word means something, that's worth more than money. Your word is something that money can't buy. Your word sometimes could be the difference between life and death. Think about it. You might have to vouch for somebody that's in deep trouble. Hey, he cool. Wait, you said he cool? You show? He cool. All right. All right. That's got that right there has got a lot of people got to go home because of something like that. Because somebody's word got them out of a tight jam. You know, when I think about some of the things that I see going on nowadays, and a lot of times you don't want to speak up on it when you out and about because you don't want to start no trouble with nobody. But I think at some point we're gonna have to say something. We're gonna have to start saying something. Us men are gonna have to start doing something with these boys. I mean, we somebody got to mentor or do something. I mean, I can understand why a lot of men don't want to be stepdaddy. You talking about a thankless job? Stepdaddy is probably one of the most thankless jobs it is. Next to daddy. Shit. Hell. The stepdaddy is often looked at by the mother and the children as a sucker. The kids, I mean, I'm not saying there's not rare occasions where the kids actually grow or come to love or like or respect the stepfather, but I'm gonna say more times than not, I've heard too many absolute horror stories. And the mother's gonna take the side of her kids, and you're gonna be assed out looking like a damn fool, feeling like a worse fool. I don't know worse. I don't know what kind of fool is worse than a damn fool. I don't know. But you will turn around. Hey, I know, brother. Man, let me tell you. So, but we gotta do something because there's too many boys out here who don't know how to be men. And I'm sorry. Your mother can raise you to manhood, but she cannot teach you the nuances of manhood. There are certain things that my father didn't even teach me. He just took me around and let me observe how men interact with other men. That's something your mother cannot teach you. My father would take me when he would be going over to his friend's house or something to play cards, and I would be bored to death, but I was soaking up manhood. I was looking at the way men talk to each other and how they interact with each other. That's a nuance that can only be learned by experience. Some of these boys are never around any men. They're always around women. They're around the auntie, the female cousins, and the mother and the grandmother. Because somewhere along the way, all the men have been ran off or carted off. I know a bunch of families that's mostly women, girls. If there's 6 girls in the family, one of them might have a man. Now, a mother can probably teach a son manners. That's what my mother taught me manners and hygiene. But I think you need a man to actually teach you real hygiene for a man. I think it's a little weird for a mother to be teach. But anyway, there are certain things that your mother can teach you. But the nuances of being a man is something that she does not know. She can only tell you what she would want a man to do or be. Women have these ideals, a real man, blah, blah, blah. No, not necessarily. That might be what you want a man to do, but that does not mean that that's what a man does or what a real man does. It is up to us men to start mentoring or teaching some of these youngsters how to be men. And some of them are so throwed off, they need to be thrown away. And we might have to do some of that too. We might have to take some garbage out. Matter of fact, we might have to separate first the good ones from the garbage. Get rid of the garbage and work with what's left. Because it is some feral, wild, no good idiots out here who don't live up under no kind of code, got no rules. They just do whatever. They emotional idiots. However they feel, that's what they do. And that's why you got so much unnecessary violence. Because there's no conflict resolution Think about, I want you to think about this now. I'm not trying to pick on women, but I'm just saying, most of the time when two women get into it, do they ever really reconcile? Maybe if they're sisters or something. But I know a lot of women who got into arguments and never were friends again because there is no reconcile for a lot of times with women. And that's the same thing with an emotional boy. The only thing is that he's more likely to do something permanent to the other person, violent, out of emotion. That same emotion that his mother may use. I hate her. I ain't talking to her no more. She ain't my friend. Well, when a boy does that, it's I hate him. See? Wearing lipstick and makeup and stuff. That's not, men don't do that. Nope. That is not part of manhood. Look here. I don't care if you got vitiligo. If you a man, you just walk around with a two-tone face. God damn it. It is what it is. You don't wear no makeup. The only time a man can wear makeup is if he getting ready to do a show or something. Maybe they got to put some of that shit on your face to keep the lights from fucking you up or whatever. I don't know. But to walk around with, man, listen, I went to Chick-fil-A one day and the young man that waited on me had on lipstick, whatever you call that stuff they put on the side of their face, and he had the stuff over his eyes. Like, I didn't think Chick-fil-A allowed that type of stuff. And I just looked at the brother, the young man. Looked like he's probably about 21. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But, I guess if the rules of manhood change, then that would mean what does that make the men of old? What does that make, your grandfather who went out there, woke up at the crack of dawn and went out there and bust his butt and raised a whole family of 7, 8 kids, and Big Mama didn't have to work. She took care of the house. He came home, brought his check home. She paid the bills. She made sure everybody ate and had clothes. And that's the way it went. Now, these cats out here wearing purses, lipstick, tight clothes. Shit, some of them wearing dresses, capri pants, traditional female attire. You're not no man. That's not manly. Maybe somebody didn't tell you. Do women tell their sons when they see them doing stuff like that, hey, that ain't manly? Or do she think it's cute? Most men, that's their worst nightmare. Shit. Your son prancing around, sashaying, talking with a lisp. Yo. And look, there's guys who, like other men, who still behave like men. See, what you do in the inside of your house, that ain't got nothing to do with nobody. I'm talking about the way you present yourself to the world. That's what counts. The the way that you handle business, the way that you deal with your family. That's what manhood is. Taking accountability for the things that you're supposed to be accountable for. It's not shirking your responsibility. It's not putting it off on somebody else. It's being accountable for your actions and your deeds. That's the major part of being a man. Is taking responsibility for the things that you are responsible for. And that's what most fathers try to teach their son. That's what you want from your child, to be able to take care of themselves and their responsibilities. You know, it's just right now they trying to blur the lines. You got all this extra stuff going on. Stuff that look, whatever you can say about the Republicans and stuff, I agree with some of the stuff they say when it comes to some of this weirdo stuff. Sorry, I do. But that's a subject for another time because I have a one subject I want to deal with, but I don't know. I think I better do it now while I don't have so many subscribers when ain't nobody really looking. Can't get in as much trouble. Shit. you know, hey, it is what it is. But this, some of my videos will be like stuff like when I do get on in the next 10 years or whatever, however long it take, and then they'll go back and be like, he said this in 2025, and be trying to what they call it, blackball you, whatever they call it, blackball is cancel. Yeah, they'll be trying to cancel me from some stuff that I said way back in the day, you know. But I ain't gonna worry about that because I get it out the mud, baby. And the people who are down with me, they're gonna be down with me. The people who ain't, they ain't. You know. All right. Well, look here. I think I've been on here long enough, chewing your ear off and chopping it up with you. This has been chopping it up with Uncle Sean, the podcast. Signing off. If you like this, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel. Share it with a friend. Listen to it while it's at work. Put it on in the background while you're washing the dishes. You know what I'm saying? Put it on in your teenager's room to aggravate them when they won't get up and take the garbage out. This has been Uncle Sean signing off, and I say peace.